the world has changed so rapidly. What took almost decades to we've been talking about digital transformation for so long, and it's all happened now in just a couple of weeks. Are there possibly any other things that used to work well that don't work anymore? I mean, Len, have you got any thoughts on that? What have you seen in your business?
Yeah, great question. So, a lot of our business traditionally has been face-to-face. We deal with healthcare organizations that take a Delphi approach to make decisions, if you will. A lot of key stakeholders involved in the decision-making process, and it's a bit of old school, and rightly so. To gain trust, they really demand that you're in face-to-face meetings. So we can't do that these days. And I don't see that occurring for the foreseeable future. So essentially, there is a transformation in the behavior of a decision-making circle, in that virtual meetings will be, the reality for a long time to come. And we're dealing with that, and it is a challenge, I have to say, because essentially, they're all engulfed right now in addressing the pandemic, and at the same time, they understand that they need to move forward to enhance their patient safety infrastructure solutions that we provide. So again, it's not something that will be transformed overnight, as you can appreciate, but we do see that as a positive accomplishment in the future, because we've dealt with innovative healthcare organizations that understand the reality, but again, you do have a lot of old school around still.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure if that's helpful.
Olin. Yeah, that's helpful. I see that.
Yeah, I agree with both Cindy and what was just said. Is that, as Sheryl Sandberg said, is that these type of crises amplify inequalities, and we all know that not all marketers or all salespeople are created equal. There's a big difference between the top performers and the average. And we can also look at it, as Cindy pointed out, between the innovators, the people that are first to adopt technology, and the laggards, the people that are last to adopt technology. And we can measure that, the so-called technology life cycle adoption curve. That curve typically gets longer under periods of stability. In other words, the distance between the time distance between an innovator and a laggard naturally grows over time. Now, this pandemic has suddenly made a lot of the laggards go out of business. It's an existential threat. So to Cindy's point, you either adopt AI and start doing things differently, or you're going to go away. It's really that simple.
That's quite a statement. Do you see the same thing, Timothy?
Yes, and in our markets, focus is super important, and we've seen similar trends as well.
Okay.
One of the things that we did, just to jump in, one of the things we did is one of the things that we did, just to kind of expand upon the point, is we decided to make a lot of our technology free. Is that the analysts, when Gartner, Forrester, the analysts that cover the space start talking about AI, it's going mainstream. And so to help people, what we did is we exposed something called the COVID impact score. So you can go under our website, it doesn't cost anything, and you can put in your target market, and it will score how much that market will be impacted by the pandemic. And you can compare it to, say, the S&P 500, which is less impacted than, say, a small business. And the other tool that we brought out is a market analyzer, where you can simply go in and see how markets change. Because as Cindy pointed out, there's a very dynamic environment, and markets are changing, companies are changing, they are adapting. So what was an ideal customer fit last month might not be next month. Things change.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean with the whole segmentation topic. So from a go-to-market perspective, how did COVID change your thinking about go-to-market? And second, is kind of connected to that, how does it set you up to come out better? Cindy?
Thanks, Tone. You know, I think I highlighted some of the points, you know, in the sense of changing our thinking on go-to-market, in the sense that we're tightening up our branding and our messaging. Yeah. We're diving deeper into the real-time coaching insights layer. We were pretty progressive in AI on a data completeness layer because we're very strong on the responsible AI front. We're doing more education like this. I think that's, you know, a really important aspect. When we find really good information around virtualization and collaboration, we're augmenting in our newsletters, sort of support systems. I think the other thing is I am in touch with our top customers every single week, doing something that brings them value. And yeah, it's been interesting, and it's not talking about us. It's not, you know, trying to sell the next, you know, even though it's in my mind. It's really just listening more, but finding things I know that will trigger where they will see value. So that we've intensified, because I think in COVID, you know, some of our customers are being impacted. Others aren't. They're growing like crazy. We have one major client that's in logistics, and just they're growing like crazy right now. And then we have another client that's in the staffing business, you know, in terms of real-time staffing, and they're hurting like severely right now because people aren't bringing in receptionists into their offices at work. Yeah. Although you might think virtual's there, people are realizing that maybe they don't need an assistant to help them. They can really be closer. So, you know, everybody's being impacted. So I think those are the things that are changing a little bit in our, I'd call it our short-term approach. Obviously, our longer term is very much around leveraging these insights from different market researchers and getting more stories out to help the market move along. And I think the most important point is qualifying faster, faster, faster. And if they're not innovative and don't get it, we have to just move on. You just don't have the cycles when people aren't alert to this value. And, you know, some people just, you know, I think, Olin, you said they're the laggards, right? So that precision is very sniper focused in my mind right now, and I know on the teams.
Yeah, well, you gave a real nice bridge, whether you knew about it or not, but to the next topic that I want to address here. And I think it's a good example of what you've started to do differently in order to create a completely different relationship with your customer. Olin was already talking about building trust. You're talking about adding value, bringing them value that they wouldn't even expect from you, but it's just caring about customers at the end. So what I also see is that slowing down creates new perspectives. So what makes me curious here is, what has COVID done to us, and has it opened our eyes in terms of the way we perceive value and how we drive decisions? Len, have you seen any change around that topic?
Yeah, thank you. First and foremost, the time for us was a pinnacle in that we've done several acquisitions in the past year, and slowing down actually gave us the opportunity to revisit and look ahead and assess what is the realization of our value to our customer base. And we're trying to embed ourselves in other verticals within patient safety and outside of that scope, governance, reliability, and risk, for example. And it enabled us to collaborate with all our new teammates. And, you know, we pretty well tripled the size of the company in the past year, and slowing down has enabled us to focus on what, you know, where we want to get to now, and enable us to unify ourselves and look at streamlining our processes and so forth, while concurrently doing things outside of our comfort zone that we've done in the past with our customers. Given the pandemic, we needed to support them to help them address this crisis. So it's been transformative, and we're very blessed that we have the culture in place and the leadership in place to be able to work through those capabilities. So thank you for that.
Yeah, Timothy, how is it for you out at Aerobotics? I mean, has anything changed to how your customers perceive value, what they expect from you, and how that drives the decisions for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite an interesting one, because I mean, the way we traditionally I suppose sell to our clients is relatively in person. Most farming relationships are built up on the farm, and you go door to door, and you effectively build up this trust on the farm. And doing things like a video call or something similar would just be completely out of mind for the industry. So we've had to adjust pretty quickly, and fortunately, everyone involved has actually been very open to this. So we've been doing a number of our client discussions via video call, which a few months ago we would have thought was unthinkable. And it's actually been very interesting for us as a business, because one of the biggest challenges is with farming communities, extremely dispersed. How did we reduce the costs of having to visit all these farms, and how did we reduce the costs of trying to be the trusted advisor to the farmer, but not always be on site, because that was expensive. And so by now going through this, I suppose, pandemic, and farmers kind of adjusting to being okay with a video call instead of an in-person meeting, has actually shown us that potentially, we can reduce a lot of our spend and still provide great service to our clients. So from that perspective, it's actually been quite a good opportunity for us to really pivot our sales strategy into something that we believe is more profitable going forward, if that makes sense.
Totally, yeah, exactly. I mean, you first have to get to see that it really works, and then, perceptions changed.
We've always talked about, it's something we've always talked about, and we've never been able to execute because we've always been too nervous, and then we were left with no other option. So we just had to go for it, and it's been pretty successful so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, talking about the value, of course, is in a way in terms of how you deal with your customers, but of course, a lot of the value is also coming from the product. And when I was doing my podcast interview with Olin a while ago, 2019, I believe it was. Time is flying. What struck me is how Leadcrunch has created a transformative product, but did something extra in terms of also embedding the whole business model into the product as well, to create the defensible differentiation. Olin, you can better explain it than I do. What product did you take to market first, and what did you learn there? How did it evolve for you?
Well, we took a lot of products to market that failed before we found success, and we did find success. Inc. magazine is ranking us as one of the 100 fastest growing companies in the United States this year. We're the third fastest growing company in California. We first started off in a completely different vertical and a completely different use case, and that was in medical research. The name of the company was called Glue, and we discovered a solution to a problem no one cared about, and that's medical discovery. If you go and talk to research institutes, they really care about getting funding and publishing papers. And so we almost went out of business. We pivoted. I had done some work in national security, and we went and got the government contract. We beat Lockheed. Our customer is Lockheed Martin. We beat IBM Watson and Palantir to win a contract to build target verification systems for the United States Navy. And we didn't want to go to work every day and listen to acronyms and go at the pace of government. So we immediately started experimentation to find where can we apply targeting technology in a commercial environment that will scale very quickly. And we looked at a bunch of different use cases. When we got to B2B demand generation, we couldn't believe the state of the industry. And we looked at that there was more than something, I think at the time, there was something like $200 billion invested into thousands of MarTech companies. I think the most recent study, there's something like 8,000 MarTech companies. And collectively, they're generating less than something like $200 million of revenue. It's a disaster from an investment perspective. And we thought, you know what, we're going to do something different. What we're going to do is, everyone else is selling subscriptions. We're not going to sell subscriptions. We're going to sell AI on demand. Everyone else is selling analytics and insights. We're going to sell campaigns. So we bridged the idea of being able to do high precision targeting with the idea of outreach to the right person at the right time with the right message. So we combined media with targeting, and we've grown over 5,000% in the last 3 years. And so our business model is our technology. We don't look at them as separate things. We fundamentally, we're here to scale demand generation for enterprises. That's what we do.
Yeah, so you got something that is highly valuable to organizations, and you make it desirable because you actually sell an outcome to them. So
yeah, and it's funny,
why not?
One of the things we did is we decomposed what McKinsey and Deloitte and some of these, we really have a lot of respect for these organizations. What were they doing in their sales transformation practice? And what we found is they all start off with, hey, give us a list of your best customers. So that's what we did. Take a list of the best customers, put it into an AI. Our AI decomposes each customer into about 10,000 different dimensions. And then we identify what aspects of your best customers are different than the general market. And the greater the separation, the better the model. And then what we do is we test that model with advertising, telemarketing, email marketing, outreach. And we follow the signals. The things that work well, we do more of. The things that don't work well, we don't do. And so it's a self-learning AI that automatically improves and finds prospects that look just like your best customers and get those prospects on the journey to becoming a customer. None of that has anything to do with the subscription. None of that has to do with how great the data is or how great the AI is. We try to create a business model that marketers would understand intuitively from what they struggle with every day.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason why I bring this example up is because it's a lesson for everybody to look at. Okay, what is the problem you're really solving, and is that really the problem that your customer is putting top of their list? Because once you got this highly valuable problem and you solve it in a way that you can exceed expectations, that's where desire is created, and that's where things start to show by themselves. And I believe, going back to my earlier question in this particular section, that that whole perception of value, trust, has changed during COVID and will become more and more important. So they will start to see the separation between who really gets what needs to be done and those that don't. Let me see, time-wise, we are okay. We're well underway. Cindy, question to you again. Looking at your business from where it started to where you are right now, what were any earlier decisions that appear to be really important for the success that you have right now in the time we're living in the changing market we're living in?
Okay, so changes recently, or changes?
Well, the recent change, but about the decisions that you took earlier on that proved to be really important right now.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. So when we first came into the market, we were building out a product kind of like Untitled, because we saw that simplification was everything. But to Olin's point, you basically, when you're in a saturated spot, you have to cut your losses. So, that in the first couple of years, I think we lost some momentum. So we stepped back, and then we built out a platform that could ingest data sets and sales, but also pick up the marketing intelligence that's coming from the on-demand systems to really reclassify them quickly, because the biggest issue is that the flows are in between marketing and sales and customer service. So I do see that there will be a lot of consolidation. So right now, we pick up the marketing, I call it, how they classify their leads, segmentation. And if they're using a lead qualification system, we'll look at that and then we'll re-index, because what the biggest signal that we found is on the historical win rates, in terms of knowing the patterns on the outcomes and then reverse engineer back. Now with COVID, Olin, good on you. It brings a whole other dimension, because now you need an economic, weighted adjuster to the segments, because the historical data is not going to have those patterns. So you have to look ahead. So I think the reality is what do we do is you have to keep learning. You've got to stay focused, but you've got to be still agile and find good partners and good customers, and be open. So it's kind of a, being focused, but not so focused that you can't reflect on what's possible.
Good point there.